Hi guys, Rob here. Hey, usually I do mostly archery stuff, but I wanted to do a bit of a knife review this time. First off, I'm not a big fan of people who get a new knife and they pull it out of the box and do a tabletop review of this brand new knife that has never even seen the sunlight, much less any serious work or use. So the knife I'm going to do a review on is a knife I've had for a little over a year now, and it's a knife that I've grown to be quite fond of. The knife in question is the Ontario knife company, the RAT7. Now, Ontario Knife Company is a company that makes a lot of good quality product, although they make it at a very basic level. There's not a lot of fancy frills and so forth, and they make a knife that in building terms has a good solid foundation. The finish work, you know, a lot of people will gripe and fuss about. For me personally, if it's a good solid piece of steel with good foundation, I can fix the rest. You know, this is kind of a review for those of you that are out there that are capable and inclined of doing a little fine-tuning on something like a knife yourself. If you're a city type person that has no means or skills or tools to do this kind of stuff, you may want to spend a lot more money to get something that's totally custom made and ready to go to whatever specs right out of the box. But for this purpose, I got something that I knew would be a good foundation I could work on. And so, without too much more of my ugly mug, we'll get down to the knife in and of itself. Okay, first off, we'll start with the basic knife. Now, the basic knife from Ontario comes with a nylon sheath, as you see here. Black nylon, has some pretty good snaps and retention, but a lot of people don't like it, and I agree, because it's a little bit rattly. Quality is not that great on the sheath. You can see by the tan buckle that already had this portion of the buckle break, so I replaced it with a spare one I had laying around. The MOLLE set up on the back for hooking up to your pack, etc. It's functional, but the spacing on the MOLLE is not standardized like a lot of American-made MOLLE tactical gear packs and whatnot, so you end up with this odd spacing and things getting scrunched and crumpled, etc. So the sheath is something that most people are not a huge fan of, and I would tend to agree with. I have used it just kind of as an auxiliary sheath on my pack so I can put the knife on my pack. So, discarding the sheath, get to the basic knife here. Now, the Ontario RAT7, it's called a RAT7, but it's actually, the blade is not quite 7 inches. Pull out my tracking stick here. You can see that the actual edge of the blade is a little bit more on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe a quarter or a half for the actual sharp portion of the edge to the tip. It's a little bit more in the 6-inch blade category, which is perfect for what I wanted, because I tend to prefer a 6-inch blade. I'm not going to get all crazy with the stock photos or anything like that. The basic blade is 1095 steel, which is a really great steel for just all around. It's easy enough to sharpen, it holds a good edge. It's a good steel for fire starting, for those of you that might want to throw a spark off of it, striking your ferrocerium rods, etc., etc. The grips are a linen micarta. When they come stock, they're fairly dry. They're kind of more, depending on what color you get, you can get black, gray, black, green, etc. These were a little bit, these were the green, I think, and they were a little bit more of a gray color. And the corners on them are fairly nicely rounded, but they're very blockish. It's a very square grip. Now, but the micarta is a good solid start. It's a good solid grip. They're mounted with screws, so you can pull these off if you need to, you know, for whatever reason, and so forth. Some nice features, you know, in the stock blade is it's got some nice jimping on the back for those of you that want to choke up on the blade. I'll try and show you the jimping on the back right here. It also has a nice little choil here for those who might want to choke up on the blade a little bit more and get your finger in there. Personally, I found that it was a little bit small for my big fingers, so I ground it out a little bit more, made it a little bit bigger. The knife stock comes with a black finish. I think it's supposedly it's some kind of a powder coat finish. You can kind of see it hopefully right there at the base. I've left it here where the RAT7 and so forth is. And it's a nice finish if you're somebody that is not inclined or adept to pay a lot of attention to taking care of the finish on your blades and prevent rust and so forth. The bad thing about, you know, these kinds of finishes is they are rough. They do provide a lot of friction. So if you're cutting stuff, you're going to add friction. If you're trying to baton through something, it's going to add friction. And although I tried it and did it, I found that batoning, even with wood, would wear on the finish, the black coating that they used pretty quickly, and it just looked like crap. Anyways, so I elected to remove the black coating from the blade itself, and ultimately forced a little bit of a patina back into it with some cold bluing solution from gunsmithing days. The fit and finish is pretty decent, although I found that the tang, which is a full tang, you can see it's a full tang, it wasn't exactly matched to the scale, the handle scales, so using a Dremel tool I fixed that. As I said, the scales were somewhat blockish, comfortable enough, but I thought I could do better, so I got to work and put some finger grooves in here which match my hand, as well as one back here for, you know, where my thumb goes. I also found that once I treated these scales with some Birchwood Casey gun stock finish just to seal them up a little bit better, it got a little bit slick, so I added a little bit of stippling in the back here, so when I'm pulling it out of the hole, out of the sheath, I've got a little bit extra grip to it. So a few extra things that I did on the overall shape. Now the grind on this blade right here, coming from Ontario River, is a little bit more, pushing I think about 30 degrees. I personally tend to like more in the 20-25 degree range, so I reworked the grind on this to a 20 degree. Granted, it's not as durable of an edge when you get down to those fine, but I don't abuse my knives. I don't even like to do a lot of batoning with my knife or chopping. If it needs to be done, it needs to be done, but especially chopping, there's no point in doing chopping. It's like, you know, why not go prepared? Take your axe or a good machete with you and do your chopping with that. So the knife as a whole has turned out to be a really awesome knife. It is, out of many I've owned, some quite expensive, this is my most favorite. It's comfortable as all get out. The balance is just beautiful. I mean, I'm not into throwing knives, but I mean, I've played with it. I have throwing knives. I would never throw this, but the balance is just gorgeous. One other modification note is, you know, the spine is ground to a 90, but it's not sharp. So a little bit of file work made for a nice sharp spine here for use in shaving and fire starting. So that's the knife. Now, as stated, the sheath was pretty lousy. I got the knife through Chestnut Ridge Knife Shop. They're online, really nice people, and the service was just like lickety snap. They make Kydex sheaths for these knives that they carry. This one I got in all green. It comes with a belt loop. I happen to have a tech lock that I chose to swap out and put on there, easier to don on and off. As you can see, it's wrapped in some Ranger bands. I have some basic fire starting stuff under here, ferrocerium rod, whistle, some fat wood so I can get my fire started off of what I'm carrying right here. And really love this sheath. It's got a really good positive snap to it and retention. Yet it's easy to draw the knife, and I also have a lanyard too, so that if I want to use the lanyard and I put a little hook on here, I can strap it down and tie it down even more if I'm working through some tight brush and I'm worried about something popping out or falling out, because I definitely don't want to lose this. But a Kydex knife sheath for this particular knife just rounds it all out. Long story short, a little bit of work and whatnot, and I have probably a grand total of $130 invested here in something that I am much more happy with than some of my, shall I say, even $300 knives that I have. This is just my go-to, throw it on my belt, do anything and everything tool. And although I would be heartbroken if I lost it, financially speaking, it'd be easy enough to replace. So, review a knife and got to play with a little bit of wood, right? As I said, I really like this finger choil. I've used machetes all over the world, and when we use machetes we tend to choke up and get up close so we can do close work. The finger choil allows me to do that, so when I want to get up and really just start doing some fine work, I can do it even with a big 6-inch blade like this. Granted, I have smaller 3.5, 4-inch blades like the Moras and stuff that I also carry that are great for doing some of this fine detail work, doing a little bit of feather stick. I mean, this is a damp piece of wood, granted, but the finger choil and the jimping on the back, I keep this, the whole blade sharp, but it allows me to really get in and use this portion right here for just really doing some fine work if I need to. Additionally, like I said, you sharpen the spine up to a good 90. That way, if I want to create shavings, say this was a piece of dry wood and I want to generate shavings for fire starting and so forth, I've got that good sharp spine for doing that. Something you got to do yourself, but it's easy enough to do. I'm not into chopping, but this thing will really hack into stuff. It's got a full flat grind. I like Scandi grinds on some of my knives, but this full flat grind is just just really an awesome grind. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of chopping. I usually don't, but for small things like this, I mean, you can see this piece of wood here is a good 1.5 inches. It wouldn't take me very much to work into even this far enough around. If I stayed with it, if I really needed to take down this piece of wood this size to make tent poles and whatnot, I could fairly easily work my way around it and get down to a point where, if this was a full piece, I'd just step on it and break it because I've weakened it up enough. So like I said, not a big fan of chopping, and of course, there's always the batoning aspect, which I'm not set up to do, but the main thing is it's a good sized blade. It has some heft to it. Because it's a 6-inch blade, I can baton some decent sized wood, and it holds a good edge, starts fires, and it really is quite a joy even for doing the finer work. And you can see from right in there, I mean, what a clean cut this thing is capable of doing, you know. And granted, that's all boils down to having a good sharp edge, but I mean, it really is a nice piece of steel. Just going to take a little work. Anyhow, without getting all crazy and wasting half your day, I'll wrap it up with that. You know, something to think about if you're capable of doing your own work. Ontario Knife Company, they're RAT7. They also make other sizes. And then, as I said, get yourself a good sheath, maybe like a Kydex sheath from Chestnut Ridge Knife Shop, which is where I got the knife from also. Just totally rounds out a beautiful package. Hope you guys enjoy that. Thanks, bye.